Hi, I'm Bill Ritchie, and I'm here with Sherry Roush. She's on camera. And I'm going to print this print from a Tetra plate that was sent to me, oh gosh, a year ago by Ek Laurie in Switzerland. He's my print pal. And today is October 1st of 2021, and that's the one-year anniversary of Print Pals. So while Sherry tapes, I'm going to ink and print this plate on my original Legacy Mini Half-Wood Press. I like to use two colors mixed. This is a violet ink by Charbonnel, and it's one of my favorite. I don't like the color that it is originally. I like to mix it with another color, which is Sanguine by Charbonnel. And the two of them mixed up give me a beautiful cinnabar color. A little background on this Print Pal concept. It was my original idea to make printmaking into a kind of game that kids could play. And by doing that, I thought that kids would understand one another's cultures and lands, and you know, what their pets look like or what their view of their window is like. And that way printmaking becomes a kind of a social art. And Print Pals was originally conceived to be run by a computer, actually, so that when people entered their name and the time of their printing, the exact time of their printing, right down to the minute, when they entered that, and they entered their geophysical location using the coordinates, that they could locate themselves, time and place, and someone else could find out that at the same time they were in New Zealand, let's say, and I was in Seattle, that we both were printing. So then by that connection, we began to have a conversation. It's like pen pals, except it's based on the time and space of your printing. Well, it turned out my first print pal was in Switzerland. And so we are still friends, and we still communicate, and we still share our ideas. Now there's my color. I love that color. It's a little stiff. The ink is a little stiff. I like to add a drop or two of plate oil. This is a type of plate oil that many printmakers use because it's used to make etching ink. Long story. But a drop of that in my ink will make it softer. And now I think that consistency looks good, and really it's just a matter of practice and preferences that one follows. There are no real rules, or fixed rules. Now the ink is mixed up well enough. I will apply it to the plate. This is not a really special tool. I happen to like these Windows squeegees that have been cut down to stubby little pieces, but you can use anything. An old credit card or a piece of cardboard will work to squeegee the ink into the textures of the plate. Oh, and the plate itself, I should mention, I said it was made on Tetra. I believe I mentioned that. A milk carton from Switzerland, from Swiss cows, and cut with a laser engraver. Ek Laurie, my print pal in Switzerland, has a laser engraver, and we noticed during the beginning of the pandemic, people were scrambling to find alternatives to the schools' metal shops, their copper plates and zinc plates and so on, and Tetra kept coming up as a pretty serviceable plastic-coated paper plate. And So I thought, well, let's try that. And Eck sent me his work of engraving on Tetra plates. And for some reason, he liked to take pictures from the videos that I put on YouTube. He would freeze a frame, and he would convert that to an image and somehow convert that to suit the laser engraving. And then he would send me the plate, and I would print it. This is the second one. There is another video showing those early efforts of making prints from a Tetra plate. And honestly, I wasn't sure how it would turn out, and I'm not really sure how this one's going to turn out. I had to adapt my etching printing techniques to this floppy little piece of paper, but it worked once, so I'm not afraid to try it again in front of a video camera. The object is the same as if this were a mezzotint or an aquatint. In fact, it looks a lot like a mezzotint. If all goes well and it turns out right. Well, that seems to be worked in well enough. And you know, the thing about printmaking is you're never really sure how it's going to look. I used to be a professor of printmaking, and I like to go on and on about the philosophy of printmaking and the importance of printmaking to the history of humankind and all the rest of it. But that's kind of a long story. The main thing is that printmaking is a social art and a performing art as much as it is a visual art. It's been adopted by painters for hundreds of years. Artists of all kinds have adopted printmaking to suit their painting or their visual art world. But now we have things like Print Pals, which has less to do with visual arts than it does to cultural arts, let's say, just very broad, sweeping field. Now, if you don't know the names of these materials, this is tarlatan, and frankly, I don't use it very much, but today I thought I'm in the mood to use tarlatan. It's really just starched cheesecloth. Okay, then I will switch to some harder surfaces because I don't want to wipe out the ink, so I'm going to use this piece of cardboard because I need to wipe the ink off of the high places so that the ink remains only in the lower places that have been cut in with the laser. And that ink will be what we have in the final print. When I'm done with that, it looks like that's about all I'm going to get with this hardboard, so I'll switch to telephone book pages. And people sometimes ask me today, what's a telephone book? And of course we have to laugh because we don't use these anymore, and sometimes people who have old telephone books at home ask me if they can bring their old telephone books and leave them with me. Funny story. Well, we're almost ready. Now, I have, before Sherry came today, I took paper that I had been saving, handmade paper, by another print pal, Ethan Lind, who makes paper with a kit that he purchased from the Grummer people. That's another long story, but anyway, Ethan makes paper, recycled paper, and he gave me several sheets. So I thought I would combine Ethan's gift with Eck's gift. Eck, by the way, spells his name E-K-K. It's short for Eckehart. Eck is in Switzerland. Eck liked to take images from my videos, and that's what the image is originally. So you can barely make out my little face in there and some kind of a window in the background. Maybe it'll be clearer when we actually get it printed, which is right now. the usual process. Put the plate on the bed. And I should mention also that there's a buildup here because the plate is so thin, it would be hard to print it and get a good impression. So I make a thin piece of actually Formica as what they call a make-ready. Now I'm ready to get my paper from its damp book, remove these gloves so I don't get ink on the paper. So we're almost there. I dampened this paper about 2 hours ago by simply spraying it with a sprayer, misting sprayer. And I have 2 sheets. I have paper from Ethan with newsprint sheets in between. This has been sprayed with a sprayer. One is buff and one is white. And I think I will choose to use the buff one. I'm going to let the other one simply dry out. The paper always has 2 sides. One is against the screen and one is not. And I like the one that is not because it's a little rougher. And away we go. I can see that it's not really straight, but once it's in a frame, if it ever gets into a frame, that won't matter. I might be making a mess of it under there, but we'll see. That's the fun of printmaking. As I said, you never know what you're going to get. Where have I heard that line? Now, a geared press is much easier to turn. Sherry, who is on camera, owns a mini etching press, which is geared and has a rack-driven bed. This is the old original Legacy mini half-wood press and is not geared. It's fiction drive. Now, before I remove the plate, the paper from the plate, I put what I call a moment number on the back. And that starts out with the year, which is 2021. Without my glasses, it's kind of blurry here. So, and this is October, the 10th month. The first day, 01. And the time by the old clock on the wall is 1 p.m., which makes it 1300 by the 24-hour clock. Now, to qualify this for Printmates, I would also need the latitude and longitude. Now, we are about 47 degrees latitude, and I think 122 west longitude, so that's a minus 122. There are more numbers, but that's enough for my point. Now we can pull the proof. This is the moment, you see, the moment of art. Ooh, that's kind of a nice color. It's a kind of rose color. It's not like my usual cinnabar. Not bad. Or as they say in Holland, niks slecht. That's an in joke. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this demo, and I thank Sherry for running the camera. And that's all for now. I'm Bill Ritchie.